Hello, everybody. Welcome into GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Friday, April 18th. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's had a great day, had a great week so far. We have a lot to get into. I'm very excited for today's episode because today is our very special playoff preview episode. As we do every single year today, not just for the NBA, but also for the NHL. We're going to start off in the NBA, go through the Eastern, then the Western Conference, do the same thing in the NHL, the Eastern, then the Western Conference. If we have extra time, we'll take a look at what's going on in baseball. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Friday, April 18th. But like I was saying, we are going to start off our show here getting a little bit into the Eastern Conference for the NBA playoffs. We'll go through the first round, then quickly through the extra rounds, how I see it playing out. We're going to start off with the 1 versus 8 matchup. Now, I know we don't know who the 8 seed is going to be yet, whether that be the Heat or the Hawks, but does it really matter? This is a Cleveland Cavaliers team that is led by a four-headed monster of Spida, Donovan Mitchell, you have Garland, you have Jarrett Allen, you have a resurgent Evan Mobley, who's been a huge part of the success this season. We haven't seen Donovan Mitchell really go out and play the extent that he has the ability to, but this is still the best team in the Eastern Conference by record for a reason. I don't think the Heat have the firepower to do it. They just don't have the star to take care of this Cleveland team with a really good defense. And the Hawks and Trae Young, I just don't think they have the juice either. I think either of these teams could steal one game potentially from the Cavs, but at the end of the day, this is a Cavs team that's going to roll its way through to the second round of the playoffs. I think they beat the Heat in 4. I think they beat the Hawks in 5. And I think eventually it's the Hawks that come out on top in this one, but I could see it going either way. After that, you have the 4-5 matchup. The Pacers out of Indiana take on the Milwaukee Bucks, and this one I think is fascinating. This is my favorite matchup in the Eastern Conference. Now, I know a lot of people are really excited for the Knicks-Pistons matchup, as they should be. That's also going to be a really good one. The 4-5 and 3-6 in both conferences, I think, will be pretty solid. But this Indiana Pacers-Milwaukee Bucks one is really interesting to me. First of all, for the Bucks, obviously the big storyline is what's going on with Dame. Dame is potentially coming back in this series. Reportedly, the blood clot is just about gone. He could come back for Game 2 of the series. I don't think that's going to make too big of a difference, though. Right now, this Indiana Pacers team is playing really good basketball, but so is this Bucks squad, especially behind the game that Giannis has been playing. The Bucks have lost in the first round now 2 years in a row, and with Giannis playing the way he is, I can't see them doing that again. Giannis Antetokounmpo is playing MVP-level basketball right now. He's not quite on that scale because Jokic and SGA have been doing it all season, but at the end of the day, Giannis, he led his team basically on his own. He had a little bit of help as well, of course, to the finals, to a finals victory just 4 years ago. And to have them be all but counted out now, I don't understand. When it comes down to it, Giannis is the best player in this series. The Pacers don't have anybody that can guard him. These two teams are going to play a very tough 7-game series, I think. But Milwaukee, with the best player in the series, despite Tyrese Halliburton coming up, playing very good basketball right now, Mathurin playing good basketball, Obi Toppin playing good basketball. This is a very good Pacers team, and they were a Pacers team that, of course, made the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so you don't want to sleep on them. But this is a Bucks team that I think is ready to go, and the way that Giannis is playing basketball, they get Bobby Portis back from suspension. They're going to get Dame back most likely at some point in this series, and that is going to be a massive, massive difference maker when they get everybody healthy. Kyle Kuzma, he can step up in the big moments. We've seen him do it before in these playoff atmospheres. I think Giannis and the Bucks take this series in 7 games over the Indiana Pacers. This one is going to be a hard-fought battle, and it's not going to be easy, but Giannis has basically been averaging a triple-double with 30 points over his last month of basketball or so. He's been Superman for this Bucks team, and I don't think that's going to stop in the playoffs. The series below them, the 3-seeded New York Knicks take on the 6-seeded Detroit Pistons. How about the Detroit Pistons? What a turnaround for them and coach J.B. Bickerstaff. He got fired last season from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now brings Cade Cunningham and the resurgent Pistons team, a Pistons team that had one of the worst seasons of all time in all of NBA history last year, now find themselves in the playoffs taking on the Knicks. This one is also going to be physical, and this is a popular upset pick. We can understand why, right? Cade Cunningham and these Pistons are going to play tough and physical. And if there's one thing that the Knicks struggle with, it's tough physical basketball. Jalen Brunson is coming off of an injury. Cat struggles with some physicality sometimes. The rest of this team also coming off injuries. They're fully healthy right now, but this is a Knicks squad that if someone goes down from that starting rotation, the way that they have it going, they don't really have depth. They haven't really played a whole lot of games as a completely healthy squad. I still think at the end of the day, this is a Knicks team that's a little bit better than this Pistons team. I think that inexperience, a very young Pistons squad, Malik Beasley, them relying on him a lot and his three-point shooting, that's something that they need to not rely on so heavily. They struggle having a true secondary scoring option outside of Cade Cunningham, unlike the Knicks, who I think are built very similarly to the Pistons. They've got their main offensive juggernaut, their main offensive weapon with the ball in his hands in Jalen Brunson, but the difference is they have more options, right? The Knicks have Cat that can turn it on at any point. Mikal Bridges has been hot. OG Anunoby has shown up in times when Jalen Brunson was injured. This is a Knicks squad that I think in 7 games, which I think this does go to, their talent and their just overall superstardom of Jalen Brunson. We've seen what he did in the playoffs last year. He's going to win Clutch Player of the Year this year. I just think they're going to be a little bit too much for an inexperienced Pistons team, but the Pistons will be back next year. They'll be better. I think the Knicks advance in 7 games, a lot like the Bucks, but both of these Eastern Conference series are going to be very much hard-fought battles, and they honestly could go either way. And the final first-round matchup in the Eastern Conference, the Orlando Magic win their play-in game by 25 for the right to take on the Boston Celtics. Now, this one I want to say is going to be close because I like the Orlando Magic a lot, but unfortunately, this is a defending champion Boston Celtics, a Boston Celtics team that was red hot down the stretch of the season, something that they really had not quite gotten done for the entirety of the season. They struggled a little bit out of the gate. They had that stretch in the middle of the season where they were struggling a little bit as well. We're looking at a Celtics team that is turning it on at the right moment. They're getting fully healthy. We haven't seen them at their full potential yet, and that is scary to think of. Now, that might provide a little bit of an advantage for the Magic, as they probably played one of their best games in the play-in game, right? You had guys like Cole Anthony step up, be the team leader in scoring with 26 points. You had a lot of guys on the bench step up, but the Magic at the end of the day are just a little bit too banged up for me to truly believe in them to go on a deep run in these playoffs, and I think they drew probably the worst card going up against the Celtics in round 1. I've got the Celtics in 4 games. First round recap for you. Cleveland in 5, Milwaukee in 7, the Knicks in 7, and the Boston Celtics, in 4 games. In the second round, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the Milwaukee Bucks, and I want to see more superheroing out of Giannis. The issue is you now have potential Defensive Player of the Year Evan Mobley to go up against, not to mention Jarrett Allen down low in that front court. That's the one part that Cleveland has a lot of depth in. You obviously have scoring to go with. I like this matchup a little bit more for Cleveland. against the Bucks. I think Giannis still makes this a series, though. Any series that Giannis is in, the Bucks have a shot. He hasn't been healthy in the last 2 playoffs, which I think has really grown and given them a huge kind of shot to the ankle, shooting themselves in the foot before the series even starts. But I'm taking the Cleveland Cavaliers to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals in a 6-game series against the Milwaukee Bucks. On the bottom side, in the Eastern Conference semifinals, we have the New York Knicks taking on the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics, again, I just think are too dominant of a team. This is a Knicks squad that whenever they're coached, whenever you have a Tom Thibodeau coach squad, Knicks, Bulls, whoever he's coaching at the time, they are just going to run out of gas at some point. We saw it really happen at the end of their run last year when you got to games 6 and 7 against the Pacers. The Pacers, a high-paced, high-octane team. Celtics are just like that. And I think in a long series, after getting tired out against the Pistons, they're just not going to have that kind of stamina, the ability to keep going the way they need to, get up for every single game that they have to do against the Celtics. And because of that, I've got the Celtics moving on also in 6 games. I think the Knicks, despite their struggles against the better teams in the East, could take a game or 2 from the Celtics. I think they have that kind of ability to turn it on in the playoffs, but I don't think this is going to be a hard-fought 6. I think this is going to be an easy 6 for the Celtics, which sets up the 1-2 matchup in the finals of the Eastern Conference. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the 1 seed, the second best record in the entire NBA this season, only behind the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Boston Celtics. These 2 teams go at each other for the right to make it to the finals. The Celtics, of course, going for a second title in a row, going for back-to-back titles, and I think they just have another gear that they can go to, right? We talked about Garland and Donovan Mitchell, who still, again, Donovan Mitchell hasn't really hit that secondary gear that we all know he can do. We've seen him do it with the Cavs last season. We've seen him do it on occasion this season. We saw him do it all the time in Utah, but he's taken a bit of a step back to let other guys, spread the load a little bit offensively, which has really helped this season, but he has the ability to go to the second tier. So I don't think this is going to be an easy matchup for either of these 2, but I just like the way that the Celtics play ball, right? They barrage you with 3-pointers. And Evan Mobley, despite how good at defense he is, despite how good this Cavs defense is, they're kind of built on that inside-out philosophy, right? You want to funnel the Celtics, funnel your opponent down to the inside so you can get them into the jaws of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley down low. Not to say that they can't go up high and play defense, but I think it's just not a great matchup. We've seen these 2 go at it. They've played really, really intense games against each other. I think this goes 7 games, but at the end of the day, I'm taking Jason Tatum and the Celtics to return to the finals out of the Eastern Conference in 7 games against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who do you think comes out of the East? Who do you think wins each first-round matchup? Who do you think wins the play-in game tonight? I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention to the other side of the bracket. Who do we have facing off against the Boston Celtics out of the West? Stick around. We'll come up with that next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Friday, April 18th, if you were just tuning in. We just finished going the Eastern Conference in the NBA playoffs, which are just about set. After tonight, they will be with the conclusion of the play-in games. Didn't really matter, I don't think, for the 8th seed in either conference. We had the Celtics coming out of the East, but who's going to face them in the West? We'll answer that question in this segment, but before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Friday, April 18th. But like I was saying, we are going to get a little bit here into what's going on in the Western Conference of the NBA playoffs. I will say this Western Conference is wide open. I think any team 1 to 7 could realistically find their way out of the West. We're talking any team other than, I think, the Mavs or the Grizzlies, although, honestly, maybe even they could have a chance if they get the right set of circumstances to go their ways. This Western Conference is going to be insane. So we'll start off with that Grizzlies-Mavs matchup. I think that's going to be a really good one tonight, of course. Late at night, after our show, it's going to tip off. That one's going to be really interesting to watch. It's all going to come down to how the front court of each of these teams plays. How does Ja play in the back court for the Grizzlies? Is he going to be able to take over this game? I think the defense of the Mavs is just going to be a little bit too much. They're a little healthy. I like the way that they played in that game to get to this 8-seed matchup. I think the Mavs ultimately move on to give the Oklahoma City Thunder their best in round 1 of the playoffs. Speaking of that matchup, even if it does go to the Grizzlies, again, kind of like the Eastern Conference, I just don't think it matters too much. This is an Oklahoma City Thunder team that is supremely talented. You have the MVP on your team. You have J-Dub. You have an excellent group of wing defenders in Caruso and Lou Dort and everyone else. Even Shea is in that group of excellent wing defenders. Down low, you've got Chet. He's back playing really good basketball right now. There's no real weakness on this Oklahoma City Thunder team, and that's why they had the best record in basketball. That's why they have the MVP on their team, and that's why I think no matter who they play, they get out of there in 5 games. The Oklahoma City Thunder, yes, they are a young team, but at the end of the day, I don't think the Grizzlies, without a head coach, we saw how that came to bite them at the end of that Golden State game, and the Mavericks with just a big dysfunction in the organization right now after trading away Luka. All of those bad vibes right now with those two teams. I am sticking with the Thunder, who have all of the vibes on their side. They win this game, not just vibes, of course, but because they have an excellent offense and excellent defense, they win that series in 5 games. Who will they be playing in the next round is super interesting, though. Again, kind of like the 4-5 matchup on the other side, this one is really intriguing to me. You have the 4-seed Denver Nuggets, who, much like the Grizzlies, also fired their head coach, this time with just 3 games left in the season, and the Nuggets are undefeated with Adelman at the helm over there. Jokic, of course, is probably the reason why you could win just about any game with Jokic in it, which is why you can never count the Nuggets out. The Nuggets, of course, who won the championship just 2 seasons ago, go up against a red-hot Clippers team. A Clippers team that has gone 18-3 over their last 21 games. A Clippers team that has won 8 straight games. A Clippers team that has a healthy Kawhi Leonard and a healthy James Harden. This is a Clippers team that is looking unstoppable. Now, of course, you have to talk about the history. A lot of people, when you're talking about the Clippers, not just their team history, but also the personal history of James Harden in the playoffs, are going to point to that and say, hey, they can't go too far. But we've seen James Harden lead teams all the way to the conference finals. There's no reason they can't win a first-round series. Again, Inexperience is going to come and bite the Nuggets in the butt. We've seen that when we talked about the Eastern Conference, when we talked about the Grizzlies. I think it's going to be a very similar kind of situation between the Nuggets and the Clippers. I love the way the Clippers are playing. They are the 5 seed, so they don't have home court advantage, but I think the home court that they have is probably the biggest advantage in all of the NBA. The wall that they built, I think, is super cool, and I think it's really worked against these teams so far. They've been really good at home. Zubac has been amazing all season for them. He's a candidate for a most improved player this year. You have a really solid rotation with a lot of really quality players. Norm Powell, Bogdanovich to hit a couple threes. And then, of course, your star players. You have James Harden, you have Kawhi Leonard. And Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs, when he's healthy, is no joke. And he is healthy right now, playing great basketball. Knock on wood for some health there. As long as he is healthy, I think the Clippers are the dark horse in this playoffs, and I have the Clippers advancing in 6 games. The next playoff matchup, we have the Los Angeles Lakers, headed by Luka Doncic and LeBron James, taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves, led by Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert. Of course, this matchup is probably the best possible matchup for the Lakers in the first round. And I hate to say that because I love the way that Anthony Edwards has played all season long. He's the 3-point leader this season. He really developed a 3-point shot. He did a lot of work this offseason, and he went on a run. He took them out of the play-in. They were struggling early season. They got on the same page with Julius Randle, but the same way that people are going to talk about James Harden, they should be talking about Julius Randle. Julius Randle has done a disappearing act in just about every single playoff series that he has been a part of. At least with James Harden, he has been able to show up in all but one game that he has, and I think Kawhi Leonard can mask that one game as long as he is completely healthy for this team. Julius Randle, they need him to play good basketball, but against LeBron and Luka, who absolutely cooked the Timberwolves last year in the playoffs in the conference finals, that's not a great matchup. The one part that you can take advantage of the Lakers on is at that center position. But the issue is you have Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert, who's very good at defense, one of the best defenders in the NBA right now, he just can't play offense, especially in a playoff setting. We've seen it year in and year out. Going up against Jackson Hayes is not the greatest matchup, but he's also not a guy that you can really funnel offense through. If they had to go up against the Nuggets, that is a nightmare series for the Lakers right now. If they had to go up against the Oklahoma City Thunder, that is a nightmare series right now. Honestly, if they had to go up against just about any other team in the West, it's kind of a nightmare series. They get their feet wet in the playoffs. They get to test how this team is going to be able to perform in a playoff-like environment in the first round against a Timberwolves team that I think just doesn't match up very well against this Lakers squad. And because of that, I've got the Lakers winning this series, I should say, in 6 games. In the final first-round matchup to go over, the number 2 seed Houston Rockets, a young Houston Rockets team that has played out of their minds recently, going up against the Golden State Warriors, an old Golden State Warriors team that escaped with a victory over the Memphis Grizzlies to advance to play this series. This is going to be so much fun. This series I have highlighted on my sheet as the closest series overall. We went over a couple series that could go either way. Talk about the Nuggets Clippers, talk about the Bucks Pacers, talk about the Knicks Pistons. This series is literally a coin flip for me. You have the Houston Rockets, who have one of the best defenses in the NBA, led by a core of incredible young talents that have stepped up this season and secured a 2 seed in an incredibly tough Western Conference, going up against Steph Curry, one of the best point guards of all time, the best shooter of all time. He's still at the end of his prime, right? His prime is done, but he can still shoot it with the best of them. They bring in Jimmy Butler, who we saw playoff Jimmy show up in the play-in games. You provide play-in Jimmy with Steph Curry, playoff Jimmy, I should say, with Steph Curry and Draymond Green playing really good defense right now. You got Podziemski stepping up. You have a lot of guys that have stepped up huge for them. This is going to be a series that is going to be games finishing at about 90 to 100. Last time these two teams played, these two defenses shine. Both of these defenses near the top of the NBA right now. It's just about whose offense can step up, who's not going to make those mistakes. This one really could go either way. I think I'm leaning towards the Rockets in this one. It's hard to say that because Golden State has the experience on their side, right? Golden State, I think either way, this goes 7 games, but playing a game 7 in Houston as opposed to playing it in Oakland in Golden State's home arena makes a huge difference. I love Jimmy Butler. I love that combination between him and Steph Curry, but I also really like this young Rockets team. I think people are overvaluing the fact that they're young. We say this a lot. We say there's a lot of young teams in the playoffs right now, right? You have a really young Pistons team. You have a really young Thunder team. You have a really young Rockets team. All of these teams, very young, very hungry. I don't have any of them advancing other than the Houston Rockets, because I think this Houston Rockets team with their defense is just going to be that much of a difference in this series. Both of these teams, again, with really, really solid defenses, but I'm taking the Rockets to take down Golden State, avoid an upset in 7 games. But again, this series, I truly think, is the closest one. A true coin flip could go either way, and we'll have to see how it goes once these series get going. Injuries, of course, can step up. Hopefully none of it does, but I'm taking the Rockets in this one. They take care of business against Golden State in 7 games. Again, OKC in 5. We're taking the Clippers in 6, the Lakers in 6, and the Rockets in 7. In the second round of the Western Conference, you have the Oklahoma City Thunder, the 1 seed, taking on the Clippers. This one also going to be a very good matchup. I love the way that, again, defense is played by this Oklahoma City squad, but I really think this is a Clippers team that could be a dark horse. Kawhi Leonard is playing amazing basketball right now. I still trust James Harden. I know I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to take the Clippers to advance to the finals, going up against either the Lakers or the Rockets. And why not, guys? I'm taking the Clippers in 7 games in that one. Then I'm taking the Lakers over the Rockets. These two teams also should have a hard-fought battle, should go 7 games as well. Steven Adams down low is going to cause a little bit of trouble, but really the main offense for this Rockets team is going to be on the outside. I think Luka's going to be able to step up despite some really strong defense from the Rockets, and I think the Lakers move on as well to force a battle of LA in the finals, which should be a lot of fun. This one could go either way. Again, this Western Conference, like I said, is wide open, but I love the way that this Clippers team is playing, and maybe I'm playing my hand too strong, but I love this Clippers squad. I think they advance to the NBA Finals to take on the Boston Celtics for their chance to win a finals for the first time in a very long time, first time ever, I believe, for the Los Angeles Clippers. They take care of business against LeBron and the Lakers in 7 games again, and then they get a tough matchup against the Celtics. I think they went through a gauntlet in the West, and because of that, despite a gauntlet coming out of the East as well for the Celtics, going up against the Cavaliers in that last round, also going 7 games, it's just tough to pick against this Celtics team right now. I'm taking the Celtics to go back-to-back in this one. They beat the Clippers in 6 games. Kawhi Leonard, I think, puts up a bit of a fight, but I love this Celtics team. I think they're pretty much unstoppable, and I think they win the Larry O'Brien Trophy. They lift it above their head. Number 19 for the Boston Celtics. 2 in a row for them. New owners start off with a new title. Then the luxury tax kicks in, and we'll see how they handle that. But I'm taking the Celtics to win the NBA Finals this year in 6 games over the Los Angeles Clippers. I'd love to hear your thoughts, though. Who do you have making it out of the West, making it out of the East, and ultimately, who do you guys have lifting the Larry O'Brien Trophy? I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention to hockey. Their playoffs also start this weekend. We'll go over the East, then the West, and pick a Stanley Cup champion at the end. That's coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Friday, April 18th. If you were just tuning in, we just finished going over the NBA playoffs. Out of the East, I had the Boston Celtics. Out of the West, the LA Clippers. And our champion, raising the Larry O'Brien Trophy in 6 games, we had the Boston Celtics. In this segment, we turn our attention to the other playoffs that kick off this weekend, the NHL. The Stanley Cup playoffs kick off now. We're going to take a look at the Eastern Conference playoffs in just a second, but before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the chat. Throw it in the comments. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Friday, April 18th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into the NHL playoffs here. The Stanley Cup playoffs begin this weekend as well. We're going to start off like we did for the NBA with the Eastern Conference. We'll start out at the top of the bracket with the Battle of Ontario. The Toronto Maple Leafs take on the Ottawa Senators in a matchup that is going to be hard fought. This is one of those matchups that's a true rivalry in the playoffs, and one of the reasons why the NHL playoffs are so special is because of these kind of rivalries. We have a Toronto Maple Leafs team that has been starved of playoff success for a long time, getting their best goaltending effort in a very long time with this current iteration of the Leafs, I should say. Same thing for Ottawa. They also got a new goaltender who's really stepped up huge. Linus Ullmark, formerly of the Bruins, now for the Ottawa Senators. They make some trades. They're a big physical team. They had Cousins over from the Buffalo Sabres. This one honestly could go either way. A heated rivalry. It's just going to come down to the goaltending, I think, right? You have Austin Matthews on one side, absolute superstar. I think the Ottawa Senators are going to give you quite a fight. It's never easy in Toronto. I think this goes 7 games, and I think at the end of the day, it goes to the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have been able to make it out of the first round. They don't have their boogeymen that they have to go up against this year in the Boston Bruins, but they do have a tight rivalry against their neighbors in the Ottawa Senators. I'm taking the Toronto Maple Leafs in this one in 7 games, but this one really is going to be a must-watch first-round series. who takes on Toronto in the second round is between another heated in-state battle. The Tampa Bay Lightning take on the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers are going for their third straight appearance in the Stanley Cup Finals. They're going for their second straight Stanley Cup Finals victory. This time they start off their run against the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning, of course, who also recently three-peated, they have a very similar squad to the one that three-peated. Obviously, there's some difference in depth. Stamkos no longer on that team anymore, but still, this is a Lightning squad that dominates throughout all of these aspects of play. They came in second in their division only to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Right behind them were the Florida Panthers. This is going to be a really good one. The Battle of Florida versus the Battle of Ontario. I'm taking Tampa Bay right now. Florida just has had a little bit of a Stanley Cup hangover. You've got Ekblad being suspended. You're dealing with Tkachuk's injury from the Four Nations Cup. It hasn't quite been the same. This is a Florida Panthers team that, again, hasn't quite been on the level that they were at the beginning of the season. At the end, ever since the break, again, probably because their best player in Matthew Tkachuk has been dealing with an injury. He should be back. He'll be playing, maybe not at full strength, but he'll be playing. And because of that, I think the Tampa Bay Lightning win this in 7 as well. Another physical series it's going to be. These two teams don't like each other. The Battle of Florida, I have Tampa Bay advancing to take on the Toronto Maple Leafs in round 2. Heading to the bottom side of the Eastern Conference bracket, we've got the Washington Capitals, the number 1 seed in the East, taking on the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens, of course, this is their first playoff action in a long time. They've got a young core going up against an old core in the Washington Capitals, led by Alex Ovechkin, who this season broke the all-time goals record. Alex Ovechkin and this Caps offense have been on fire all season long. They pick up Pierre-Luc Dubois. This was a Caps team that was expected to be where the Montreal Canadiens are this season. Instead, they just simply drop 110 points on everybody's head. Logan Thompson, who's dealing with injury, stepped up huge for them. Charlie Lindgren, who's been a really solid goalie for them, led them to the playoffs last year, is going to be in net. You have a Montreal Canadiens team that is led by Cole Caulfield, and a whole bunch of other young players going up, including Ivan Demidov, who is the next big thing out of Russia, going up against the former big thing out of Russia in Ovi. Still a huge thing in Russia is Alex Ovechkin, of course, but it's the old versus the new. And I think the Washington Capitals, the way their offense has been going, despite the goaltending not really being in the greatest spot, still find a way to move on in a series that's a little bit too close for their liking. I'm taking the Caps in 6 games over the Habs, but this one should be a fun series. Lots of offense in this one. In the final first-round matchup out of the East, the Carolina Hurricanes take on the New Jersey Devils. The Carolina Hurricanes have had a lot of heartbreaking exits to their playoffs runs the last couple of seasons. They've given up huge leads, 3-1 leads. They haven't been able to play the way that they were expected to. They made a big swing trading for Mikko Rantanen. That didn't work. They were able to move off of him, trade him to Dallas, get some return back there, and it's been better ever since. This is a Carolina Hurricanes team that desperately needs to play the way that they're expected to. They're the second best team in the Metro Division. They take on a New Jersey Devils team that's just limping their way to the playoffs. Their best defenseman and their best player hurt, not going to be there. I think the Carolina Hurricanes take care of business in 5 games in this one. This is going to be the easiest series out of the East, but it doesn't get any easier after this as they have to take on the Washington Capitals. We've seen these two teams play a whole bunch. There's going to be, again, a lot of offense in any game that the Capitals are in. I think this is a Cap squad that just doesn't have the defense to get it done. I love this Carolina Hurricanes team. I think they advance past the Washington Capitals in round 2 to the Eastern Conference Finals, taking on the winner of Toronto and Tampa, beating the Washington Capitals in 6 games as well. Then Toronto taking on Tampa. Toronto seemingly cursed, and I don't think that curse ends this year. Despite Austin Matthews having a great season, despite their goaltending being at the best it has been, I just don't see that curse being broken. I'm taking the Lightning in 5 in this one. I love the way that Vasilevsky is playing. I love the way that the Lightning are playing overall. I think they advance to take on the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals. And advancing to the Stanley Cup, the representative from the East, between Carolina and the Tampa Bay Lightning, I'm taking the Carolina Hurricanes. This is a Carolina team that has been through so much. This playoffs means the most to them out of every team in the playoffs right now. I think this is a Carolina Hurricanes team that's going to come in motivated. They're going to come in healthy. And I think because of that, they beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in 7 games to advance to the Stanley Cup Finals and face off against whoever comes out of the West. Who that is? Stick around. We answer that question coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Friday, April 18th. If you were just tuning in, we just went over the Eastern Conference for the Stanley Cup playoffs that had the Carolina Hurricanes coming out of the East to fight for a chance to lift the Stanley Cup trophy. In this segment, we find out who their opponent, I think, is going to be in the Western Conference. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Friday, April 18th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into our final conference picks. The Western Conference of the Stanley Cup playoffs has the President's Cup trophy winners, Winnipeg Jets, going up against the St. Louis Blues. Of course, the President's Trophy doesn't necessarily mean a lot of success. Can they shake off that quote-unquote curse and advance to the second round? They have Connor Hellebuck, who's going to win the Vezina for the second year in a row. He has been insane. Also, the offense for this Jets team, which was lacking a little bit last season, has really stepped it up. They made a couple of huge moves in the offseason, getting some key contributors. I think this is a Blues team that is solid, but it's not good enough. I'm taking the Winnipeg Jets to sweep the Blues in this one. I love Connor Hellebuck. I think they are going to dominate this series. I don't think it's going to be that hard for them to move on. They win four games to none, advancing to round 2. Once again, a Dallas-Colorado series seems to happen every single year, and it's always good. You have a Dallas team that is yet to quite get over the hump. They've beaten Colorado a couple times, but they can't quite seem to make it all the way out of the Western Conference. They always fight tough. Jake Ottinger's playing really good hockey, as he always is, one of the best goaltenders in the game. He's going to go up against a Colorado team that, of course, always has snipers. Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, you get Lankinen back, the captain. This is going to be a tough series for Dallas. Dallas does have Mikko Rantanen, though. Mikko Rantanen, of course, formerly a huge star for the Colorado Avalanche, might be looking for some revenge there. That's something to look out for. I'm still taking the Colorado Avalanche in this one, though. Despite that, I think the way that the Avalanche are playing hockey right now is incredible. The goaltending, not to mention what's going on with their offense, of course. I love this Dallas Stars team. They've got a really solid group of skaters, a really great goalie. I love Jake Ottinger, but I think at the end of the day, this just isn't going to answer it. I just don't think they quite have the firepower to keep up with a newly healthy Colorado team, and I'm taking them in 7 games to advance to take on the Winnipeg Jets. The bottom half of the bracket sees the Vegas Golden Knights back at the top of the Pacific Division, taking on the Minnesota Wild. The Wild started off this season red hot. They were the hottest team in hockey. They were kicking off like nobody's business. They had a great goaltender. They still do in Gustafsson. He's having a great season. But then injuries hit them, and they fell all the way down to the wild card. But now they're healthy again. They get Joel Eriksson Ek back. They get their guys back. Kirill Kaprizov is fully healthy now. This is not going to be an easy series for Vegas. Vegas, of course, once again, doing their thing. They lose Marcia, so it does not matter. Aiden Hill's playing great in the net. You've got Mark Stone coming off of course, LTIR. He's back again. He seems to do this every single year, but it's fine because it works. Vegas, a very, very good hockey team, a very dangerous hockey team. I think they beat the Minnesota Wild in 6 games, but this is not going to be easy. It definitely is not. It's going to be a hard-fought battle. Minnesota, a very physical team. They're not going to let Vegas get away with this easy. A lot of fan bases hate Vegas. They've seen nothing but success. I don't see that ending now, especially with the season that they've had. They take care of Minnesota in 6 games, advancing to round 2. The final game of round 1, though, final series of round 1, I should say, you have the Los Angeles Kings taking on the Edmonton Oilers for the 3rd straight year. Big brother, little brother battle over there, and I just don't see how it changes. Edmonton still is the best player in hockey, Connor McDavid, who was 1 game away from winning a Stanley Cup last season. The Kings, they bring in Darcy Kemper. He's been really good, but I have my qualms with Darcy Kemper. He won a cup just a couple years ago with the Colorado Avalanche. I don't think he can do it again. This is an Edmonton team that I think has the Kings number. The Kings have played great hockey all season long, and I respect them for what a season they've had. But at the end of the day, Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers are just going to be a little bit too much for the Kings, and I think Edmonton moves on in 6 games like it always seems to happen. In the second round, Winnipeg taking on the Colorado Avalanche. I think this is a series that could go as one of the better series overall. Obviously, Winnipeg has the best goalie in hockey right now. Colorado is one of the most dangerous sets of offense, one of the most dangerous power play units in all of hockey. Whichever one of these teams is going to stay out of the box more, I think is going to win. I love Winnipeg. I think this is their year. I think they take care of business against Colorado. They do what they need to do. They stay clean. They stay out of the box. And I think the Winnipeg Jets advance to the Western Conference Finals in 7 games against the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche, of course, coming off of a very hard-fought series in Dallas. The path just isn't quite there for them. Vegas faces Edmonton. This seems like another matchup that happens every single postseason. Edmonton got the better of them last time out. Vegas, a very dangerous team this year. I'm taking the Edmonton Oilers again. Connor McDavid, I think, can go on that kind of run where he's just the best player in hockey. He's someone that no one really wants to mess with. Of course, you don't want to mess with Connor McDavid. He's going to be the next coming of Wayne Gretzky, of course. And I think Vegas doesn't quite have the goaltending, despite how well Adin Hill has been playing. I think Edmonton just has too much offensive firepower, and I think if their defense can step up the way that it has this season, the way that it did in the playoffs last year, they'll be able to make it back to the Western Conference Finals, maybe even further. They take care of Vegas in 7 games. Both of these series should be really good. But that sets up a Western Conference Finals between the Winnipeg Jets and the Edmonton Oilers. And at the end of the day, when in doubt, go with goaltending. Connor Hellebuck, I think, is the best goaltender in hockey right now, and he is going to carry his squad on his back all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. We've seen the Jets struggle in round 1. I think once that round 1 demon gets off their backs, they are just going to roll all the way to the finals, set up a date in 6 games with the Edmonton Oilers, with the Carolina Hurricanes. Both of these teams that desperately are looking for a Stanley Cup victory. These two teams have been in a cup drought. Of course, Canada has been in a cup drought for a very long time. It's been more than 30 years since they last won a cup. They were 1 game away last time, and I think the cup drought continues. Unfortunately for Canada, they have a lot of really good contenders. Winnipeg, Edmonton out of the West, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal out of the East, although Montreal I don't really think stands much of a chance. I'm taking the Carolina Hurricanes. They extend that drought in Canada not to have the Stanley Cup since 94. I think Carolina lifts the cup, gets that massive monkey off their back. They get rid of they dispatch the Jets in 7 games in a really exciting cup final. I'm taking the Carolina Hurricanes as the Stanley Cup champion. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who do you have out of the West? Who do you have out of the East? Are there any upsets that you think in the Stanley Cup playoffs? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And thank you everybody so much for tuning in to today's episode of GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I've been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. We'll be back on Monday, going over everything from around the world of sports. We will have some detailed breakdowns from the playoffs. We'll keep you updated. We'll do our MLB power rankings on Monday. Everything you need to know. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet.